Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Well, there was huge news yesterday, and of course, that was America's favorite first son, Hunter Biden, was able to resolve some of his issues. Depends on who you talk to, whether they've all been resolved or not. But he will get to plead to 2 misdemeanor counts of tax evasion and get to enter into a pretrial diversion agreement for lying on a Form 4473. Now, I know that has many of you out there completely freaking out, saying that this guy got a much better deal than he should have, and it goes to show that our justice system is in fact crooked, and you may be right. What we try to do here at Washington Gun Law all the time is we do not want to tell you how to think, but we do want to give you all the stuff to think about. So for those of you who are thinking that this is absolutely ridiculous and that Hunter Biden should have never got this deal, let's put that theory to the test and let's spend a few minutes and talk about America's two-tiered justice system and what it just did for Hunter Biden. Okay, so here's what we're talking about. We're talking about the sweetheart deal that Hunter Biden got as it relates to lying on a Form 4473. We're not going to get into the tax stuff. This is Washington Gun Law. This is not Washington Tax Law. I'm sure that would be a really exciting channel if it existed. But here at Washington Gun Law, we're going to focus on the other crime, the one that he gets a pretrial diversion agreement for, and that's, of course, lying on a 4473. You see, because Mr. Biden answered in Section 21 that he was not an illegal user or addict of controlled substances as defined by federal law. But then Mr. Biden also authored a biography in which he claimed that he was completely hooked on crack cocaine during the exact time that he filled out a 4473 and said he was not using any drugs. That, my friends, is a felony. Now, what I want all of you to understand is that a lot of people just scoff and say, well, people do this all the time. Lying on a 4473 is a serious criminal offense, and it actually doesn't really constitute one act of criminal conduct. No, I think actually successfully lying on a Form 4473 actually can get a person charged with 3 separate crimes, and a prosecutor could do this if they wanted to get really evil on a person, okay? Because under applicable federal law, it is unlawful for any person to knowingly make any false statement or representation with respect to the information required by this chapter to be kept in the records of a person licensed under this chapter. So what that refers to is it is unlawful to lie on a 4473 on any type of federal record. That is punishable by up to 5 years in prison. But if you read additionally into the same legislative scheme, what you also see is that it's also a felony if you make any false or fictitious oral or written statement to a dealer with respect to any material to the lawfulness of a sale. And that is actually punishable by up to 10 years in prison, okay? So there's 2 separate felonious conducts here. But then, let us also remember that if the person, through their lies, is able to take possession of the firearm, which is exactly what occurred here, well, now we have an unlawful person in possession of a firearm as well, thus constituting the 3rd felony charge. Now, just so you understand what a pretrial diversion agreement is Mr. Biden will have to enter into a contractual agreement with the United States government. He will be required to do certain things, pay fines, complete community service hours. There may be other affirmative obligations. There will also be many behavioral clauses in there, things that he cannot do. If he fulfills every term of that contract, at the end of that contract, he goes back to court. The prosecutor announces that they will not seek charges in that particular matter. If, of course, Mr. Biden violates the agreement, not only does the prosecutor get to then file the charges, but Mr. Biden has contractually agreed that there are facts sufficient to find him guilty of, in fact, lying on a Form 4473. And yeah, you see, when you talk about doing that in your own biography, it's going to be pretty good evidence that you, in fact, committed that crime. Now, many of you are screaming bloody murder that he got a big break, but then there are those on the other side that's saying, hey, it's not that big of a deal, really. People don't really go to jail for that. And candidly, the people don't really even ever get prosecuted with much frequency about that, okay? And what they're doing is that most people are citing to a story from the Washington Post, in this story right here, which of course we don't even need to get into the veracity of that particular news source. But a cursory Google search on how many people go to jail for lying on a 4473 will show that not only does it happen, unfortunately, with a great bit of frequency, people are busted for it with a great deal of frequency, and oh yeah, people go to jail for it with a great deal of frequency. Type it into Google yourself and you will find a statement from the United States Attorney just for the Western District of Oklahoma from January of this year, entitled "Federal Prosecutors Aggressively Pursuing Those Who Lie in Connection with Firearm Transactions." And then it goes through a long list of individuals just in the Western District of Oklahoma who have recently been convicted of what? Oh, lying on a Form 4473, being found guilty of it. And what are they getting for punishment? Yeah, they're getting prison time for punishment. Take a look at the case of Miracle Vaughn, a story which was publicized on the website The Truth About Guns. What was her crime? Her crime was she lied on a Form 4473 and with no criminal history. What was her sentence? Oh, it was 1 year and 1 day. That's right, 366 days of incarceration. Take a look at Deja Taylor. Who's Deja Taylor? Well, she's the 26-year-old Virginia mom whose son, 6-year-old son, took her firearm to school and ended up shooting a teacher. Now, I'm not going to defend Deja Taylor for what occurred here, but here's the thing. The only charge that they've gotten Deja Taylor on so far is that she lied on a Form 4473. Her attorney says that she'll be entering a plea and she is in fact looking at time behind bars. What was the thing she lied on? Oh yeah, she said she wasn't a marijuana user when she in fact was on her 4473. Or take a look at the case of Kodak Black. Who's Kodak Black? Well, most of the people on my channel probably aren't going to know this, but he is a rapper from Florida who not once but twice lied on Form 4473 saying he was not under indictment when in fact Kodak Black was under indictment. What sentence did he receive upon those two convictions? Almost 4 years in prison. So the bottom line is do people get caught lying on Form 4473s? Yes, they do. Do they get prosecuted for it? Yes, they do. Do they go to jail for it? They most certainly do. And you don't have to take my word for it, because I will put links for all of the stories I previously mentioned down below so you yourself can check it out. The bottom line is this is a serious offense. It is punishable by prison time, and almost anyone who gets convicted of it, in fact, does see the inside of a jail cell, unless, of course, your name is Hunter Biden. Listen, you may have more questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights. Now, you guys should know how to contact Washington Gun Law by now, but if you don't, that's okay, because that information is right down there in the description box. In the meantime, I do want all of you to remember that part of being a lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay safe.